absolutely had no power of place. This was a place that people would walk past as quick as they could to get to the cafeteria or the library or chapel or back from their dorms. But 12 years ago, this place acquired the power of place. It was 12 years ago today that our first Survivor Tree Memorial was established. The Callery Pear Tree that is from the World Trade Center standing side by side with the American elm from the Murrah bombing. This is the only place in the world that I'm aware of that these two survivor trees stand side by side. And we're so proud of this space. This space, really, yeah, I think it deserves a round of applause. So really, how did this space come about? In some ways, it was providential. In some ways, it was born out of grief. Two really terrible terrorist events, one domestic, one international. It was born out of relationship and friendship as well. 9/11 occurred about 6 years or so after the Murrah bombing, and there were Oklahomans that immediately made their way to New York to provide whatever care or aid or comfort they could. And from that visit, New Yorkers would come back to Oklahoma, and they would do so every April when we were commemorating our tragedy. And every September, the Okies would return to New York. And friendships were born. And my guess is there are New Yorkers that have certain assumptions about Oklahomans. I know there are Oklahomans that have certain assumptions about New Yorkers as well. But I will tell you the power of place and the power of relationship has explained very clearly to us that we've got New Yorkers that are as good as gold, and we love them dearly like friends. If we could just help them with their accents, it would be just fine. But these New Yorkers, and I hope that Ron, who's going to speak in a couple of minutes, might share part of the story. They became so well acquainted and friends with people here in Oklahoma and at Oklahoma Christian that when they saw what we had done with our survivor tree in our state, how we celebrate and commemorate things with that, when they found they had a survivor tree, they knew that they wanted it to be side by side with the Oklahoma survivor tree. And so Ron and a band of 4 others brought a small survivor tree, the mini survivor tree from New York City all the way here in a minivan, and it stands right here, right behind me today. There's not another place like this. The good news is this place is going to get even better. We have some special donors that have stepped up, and we are making this space larger and more grand and more permanent for our university and our community. We love placing flags out on the front of our campus, U.S. and Oklahoma flags. We do it twice a year. We do it in April and we do it in September. 168 flags, which represents the number of people whose lives were taken in the Murrah disaster. But we also love flying the U.S. flag, the state of Oklahoma, and the state of New York flag as well because of our love and our appreciation for our brothers and sisters in New York. So here's the short program this morning, and we're so glad that you're here. Christine Meredith, our Chief Advancement Officer here at Oklahoma Christian, is going to step up and make some introductions and some thank yous. We're then going to have President Ken Jones, who is going to step up and welcome you officially from the university. Following that, Susan Walton, a survivor of the Murrah bombing, will step up and have a couple of minutes of comments. And then our friend Ron Vega from New York will come and address us on behalf of our friends from the East. Following that, we're going to have several people line up for photographs. We're going to have a true groundbreaking today. We're going to have the dedication, the ribbon cutting in September of this year, so you all need to come back for that. And then we're going to close the ceremony with Neil Arter, our Dean of Student Life here, leading us in a prayer to bless this area. I also want to say a special thanks to somebody who really makes a lot of this happen in this relationship and with this information. And I've lost him right now. Where's Brad Robinson? Brad, let's give Brad a round of applause. He's standing next to our living easels right here. So again, again, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome Christine Meredith to the microphone.
Thank you, John. I'm excited to see everyone here today. New Yorkers, Oklahoma City, friends of the university. I'm glad that we all can be out here this morning to celebrate the beginning of this new plaza. I want to take a minute to introduce you all to some of our special guests. First, I'd like to recognize some of our friends from New York. Ron Vega, he'll raise your hand. Ron. Michael Kinney. Tommy Canavan. And Brian Bronco. So let me go back and say a little bit about Ron. Ron worked Ground Zero, part of recovery, and even was instrumental, obviously, as John said, in bringing the survivor tree here. Had so much impact for what happened on 9/11, and we are so glad that he's here, and we're going to get to hear from him today. Michael Kinney also worked Ground Zero, helped with the recovery with that. We're so grateful for you and what you did there. Brian Bronco and Tommy Canavan, survivors of the 9/11 attack. We are thrilled that you all are here with us. I want to introduce the city survivors from the Murrah Building bombing. We have Susan Walton here. We have Janet Beck. Joanne Hutchison. And do we have Dot Hill here now? Dot, I'm glad you're here. We also have a special guest from the Boston Marathon bombing, and I'd like to introduce Marty McDonald. He's here with us today. Marty said something really powerful to me when we were introducing ourselves to each other, and I said, I'm glad to meet you. I'm sorry that we share something, and he said that's how the healing happens. And that's so important when we're here looking at these trees, and that hearing you all as you greeted each other today, the hugs, the smiles, the memories that you've shared these last several years. It was healing for me to see that happen and how you all have worked through this together. So glad that we have a place here where we can share that experience as well. John also mentioned Brad Robinson. Brad's been instrumental in helping us make these connections and in helping us find a way to make this area a beautiful survivor tree plaza. Brad, along with some of his friends, got together and we dreamed about what this could be. We talked about who would be willing to help with that. We have a key donor who's unable to be with us today, Ricky and Kelly Lawson, but Ricky's mom, Pat Lawson, and Ricky's son, Tegan, are here with us today, and we are so thankful for them. We also have many, many other donors who wanted to be a part of this project. The men of Delta Gamma Sigma were great supporters of this project, and they came together and really supported this. Also, our alumni who know this special place on our campus, they wanted to be a part of it. New York City survivors are a part of this project, and Oklahoma City families are also a part of this project. So it is really, really a national effort here that is going into making this place a much more grand and special place. I think that now is the time that I would like to introduce Dr. Ken Jones, and he would like to welcome you all on behalf of the university.
Just a brief comment to tell you that we are so glad to have all of you here on our campus today. We're so thankful for the opportunity to remember we are a Christian university. We think part of the Christian way is to remember the past and to give honor to what has happened in the past and to learn from the past. I guess all of you really truly understand that there are certain things that happen in life, and especially tragedies, that so impact you that you remember exactly where you were, exactly what you were doing. I remember exactly where I was in 1995. I was about to give a speech at the McInturf Center in another city, a part of the St. Mary's Hospital system, a very large gathering of people. And I even remember the person about to introduce me, General Dudley Favor, and 4-star Army General. And right before he introduced me to give this speech, he said, I need to stop and tell everybody something. I have just gotten word of this bombing in Oklahoma City. Of course, my speech didn't go well after that because everyone was kind of in shock. But all of us remember, and all of us have it stuck in our minds, and it will not disappear. And I am so thrilled to be able to have all this on our campus and to be able to remember in this very, very special way. So thank all of you for who have donated. I want to thank all of you who have come such far distance to help us remember. We ask that God bless all of you.
Thank you, President Jones. I want to ask Susan Walton to please come forward and speak as well. Let's give Susan a round of applause. Thank you, Susan, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please bring to the podium also and welcome Ron Vega.
I'm really humbled to be here. It's been a long journey to be here. And the word tragedy keeps coming up here today because it's about tragedy. United by tragedy. And how much does that suck?
A lot.
But you know what? If it was for tragedy, I wouldn't have been anybody here. Right? If it was for tragedy, a little baby behind us wouldn't be here. We in New York, we were conscious of what happened here, but our hearts weren't as strong back then. We didn't understand what took place back then, and how life treated, terrorism back then was different, right? Even though 1993 bombing is the original World Trade Center bombing was a couple of years before yours, your tragedy, we still didn't react. We kind of got back together and on with our lives as fast as we could. So then, when tragedy came visiting us, when terrorism came visiting us, we understood. And believe me, we needed you. We needed to come to Oklahoma to understand how do we go on after this. And you were our rock. You gave us strength. You showed us how we could go on, how we could not give up, how we could fight on. And so you have survivors here that are stronger, smarter, more productive because of you. So I thank you. So here I am working the recovery effort. Mike and I were there so many months in that terrorism. And this tree had been damaged beyond what the Parks Department wanted to even salvage. The parks department looked at this tree and said that tree is mortally wounded. We won't spend a penny on it. It was outside. It was dead. So near the end of October, it pushes out one branch.
say, what the? Leave. This tree wants to live. This tree wants to live. It's not giving up. We're not giving up. We made tremendous efforts to get the Parks Department to grab the tree and foster it. We put it together, made sure the tree was righted up, we got it on a flatbed, and we sent it off to hopefully recover. We didn't know, right? We were a little busy down there. We didn't have time to track this tree, and quite frankly, we didn't want the world to know that we took time away from looking for their loved ones to save a tree. But trees are important. I mean, every tree here has a story. We just don't know them. We know these, right? We know the story. So we lobbied, we got the tree. I worked the recovery effort. Then finally, 10 months later, I went back to my regular job with the city as an architect. We thought life would go on, but the truth of the matter is you just can't walk away from that. It stays with you. And my agency disbanded my unit. I was a schools architect, and the economy was in the dumps after the attacks, and so we stopped doing schoolwork and got transferred to libraries. Then a fateful thing happened. One of the people I worked with at Ground Zero got a job at the 9/11 Memorial Museum. And we were at Mike's house at a housewarming. I had redesigned Mike's house and turned it into a palace, and he hates me for it because I spent all his money. It's a gorgeous house. We had a housewarming, and that man, Luis Mendez, came to the housewarming, and he just said, you know, I'm working at the 9/11 Memorial Museum. I'm part of the foundation, and I need to replace the architect. The architect just left. I need to get a new architect. And I said, no, you don't. You're looking at him. So I left my secure, stable city job and took the job. And my wife understood. I don't know how, because, you know, security and pension and all that stuff. I had to make a difference. And so, but again, when I went back, one of the first jobs we had, I'm sorry, I know it was a mistake giving me the money. But I think with this slowing down a little, our tree here is giving me cover. So, one of the first things I was asked to do was review the plans and take a look at the potential new memorial. And one of the plans I saw just was a template for an idea of how to label things on the plaza. So there was this pavers and etchings in them. I'm flipping through the pages. There's an etching that says survivor tree. And then I remember you're a survivor tree. I said, well, we should have a survivor tree. And then I remembered the tree, but I didn't know where it went. I had no idea. All we did was put it in the back of the ambulance and leave it on. So it took me a long time to find where this tree was. And because by that time people had retired, people had went on to other jobs, nobody knew what the tree was. They thought it was, I know this won't mean much to you, they thought it was in the Bronx Botanical Gardens, they thought it was in a park somewhere. It turned out it was in a nursery. And when I found it, I looked at it, and it was the most ugliest thing I've ever seen. And I fell in love with it. I don't know if you have pit bulls out here. Pit bulls are some ugly dogs, but they're the best dogs on the planet. I mean, I love those dogs. Anyway, bottom line is, I said, you know what, I decided right there, I got to bring this tree back. I had no power. I was just a lonely construction project manager. But I got to figure out some way to get this tree to the memorial, bring her home. And so, truth of the matter, it took me years, but I got her back. I got promoted, I became the director of design. Then I got the juice. I got all the newspapers involved. I got the New York Times, I got the Post. Everybody wrote articles about it. Everybody in there about it talked about how this tree, how we had to save it. We had to bring it back home. I had to lobby with the city council, because it wasn't my tree anymore, it belonged to the Parks Department. And they had nursed it back. They didn't do a great job because they didn't have any money, so they put it in a weird corner, didn't get any sun, it was half walled. You know, I still loved her. So we finally got the permission to take the tree back and bring it back. As director of design, I had to select the materials for the plaza, so I happened to be in Italy, selecting the stone, the pavers for the Memorial Plaza stone. I get a call that a nor'easter came through New York and knocked the tree down in the nursery. It had uprooted the tree, more than 50% of the roots were gone. I couldn't believe it. I got on a flight and I came back. I was so angry with the Parks Department because they hadn't guided her down, they hadn't secured her. But God is good. God knows what He's doing. There was trees behind it because it was in a corner, but it had tall oak trees, and those trees were blocking the sun, keeping our tree from going out fully. So guess what God did? He knocked those trees down. and he let our tree lean against the fence, so half of it was still had roots. But I was so angry, I said, I got to get you out of here. You know what? The Parks Department doesn't know what it's doing. I got to get this tree out of here. I got to protect this tree. Because we had, by that time, we had all 400 oak trees that we had for the memorial in a nursery in New Jersey. And I said, you know what? I got to take the tree out of here. I got to secure it. I got to get it to New Jersey, where every tree has its own spot. Every tree has got its own irrigation system. Every tree has its own computer chip. We know each time that the tree sneezes, we know. We know everything about this tree. So I'm getting it out of here. We got to the side, we had everything ready to go, about to pull the tree out of the ground, and Tom Cox, who's one of our tree experts out of Texas, he says, Ron, I'll do whatever you say, but if we pull that tree out, it's going to die. I said, no way. Yeah, man, you take that tree, it's not going to survive. It survived everything, but half its root system is gone. You know, in the time that it's been out, those roots have, you know what, we can't take her out, she's going to die. The best thing we can do is just straighten her out, guy her down, give her the best love we can, and see what happens, right? So that was March. In April, we had tree flowers. So I knew that it would go to the nursery in April, and if it was completely engulfed in white blossoms, that means it survived. That means that all the roots had come back and established themselves, and it's going to be all right. I say that the only reason that tree survived and fought its way, fell over, and then came back is because it didn't want to go to Jersey. It's the water. And so that tree survived, and you know what? That's how she survived and made her way down to the north. So how do I get to this story with the friend behind us? Well, the Parks Department was so appreciative that I left it with them, that I didn't give up on it. That they took cuttings, and when you take a cutting, what you're doing is taking the brand new growth from springtime, that's the end of the tip of the branch, and you take hundreds of them, and you flip them vertical, and they become their own little trees, and you encourage a new growth, new roots, new growth. It's very difficult. It took about 400 cuttings. They only got 12 to grow. The Parks Department gave me one. So Ron, you deserve this. You got a piece of this tree for what you did. So I just beside myself. So what happened? You got this tree, I put it in a pot, brought it home. It's the story of Queens. You got maybe 20 by 100. That's my whole lot. I put it in. I'm going to try to figure out. I'm going to find a place for this tree. But in the meantime, I'm going to tree. It buds. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And I'm just like, can't wait to plant it somewhere beautiful, right? So then I get a call from Brad. And Brad says, man, I know it's a tough ask, but I said, well, you know, cutting, says, well, anything you can get, I appreciate it. And I said, well, Memorial doesn't give away the trees. It's got to be another 9/11 Memorial for them to give the trees. But I got a tree for you. I'll give you my tree. And so the tree was already about 4 or 5 feet tall. There's no way it's going to fit. You know, we had taken trees from the memorial cuttings. We have seedlings from the mama tree here. Those are seedlings. They're not exact clones. This is an exact clone, exact genetic link. This baby is New York behind me. Well, now it's Oklahoma, but back in the day. Maybe the first 4 feet is New York, but the rest is New York. Anyway, so bottom line is, I was not going to put it in UPS truck. I was going to make it FedEx. We all got together and we decided we're going to drive it out here, right? And it was too tall to fit. So my wife sat in the back seat and she cradled this tree all the way from New York City because it couldn't stand up and I didn't want it to break. So it was at an angle. And every time we'd stop, we'd turn it around, we'd take it out, we'd give it sun, we'd give it water, we made sure she was doing well, and we all took turns driving. And there was the 5 of us, and that was myself, Mike Kenny, Tom Canavan, Charlie Kay, who has since gone ahead, and our wife Judy. So the 6 of us, I'm including the tree, made that trip out, and that's how you got this tree. So 12 12 years ago, we dragged ourselves in here, and we put a spade in the ground, and we planted both these trees on this site. And I'm still, it's just unbelievable that this is here today, and I'm here today, and we're all here today. It's been 12 years, and a lot of life has gone back and forth in the last 12 years, yet here we are. We're still here, we're still facing this tree, and we're looking towards the future. And that's all we can ever do. So with that said, that long story, and you know, it's a very big mistake giving me the mic, being the last guy here. But, God bless you all, and thank you for coming.
All right, now we're going to get ready to dig. So I am going to read each person's name, and if you'll come up as I call you name and start from my left, and we'll work to the right. So Chancellor DeStiger, we'll grab a shovel and a hard hat as well. Ron, Mike, Tommy, Brian, Dr. Jones, Pat and Tegan, Brad, Susan,
Okay. Wait. Dot, you're getting pictures, right? Because I don't have pictures. I'm on video.
All right, Neil, do you want to grab a shovel? I'll do it.
I'm videoing it.
And John Hermes. All right, so I'm going to ask everybody to put their shovel kind of in the ground right here where Neil's shown us. Put your foot, if you can balance, and then look up and smile for a picture. Yay! Ready? 1, 2, 3, dig. That Oklahoma ground. Before we stop, I would love to invite the rest of our New York guests and our Oklahoma City survivors to come up for a picture as well.
Just a white. You want me to take a picture? Yes, ma'am. You gotta go. All right. Yep, y'all gotta go.
Marty, would you please join us? Thank you.
Don't fall in the hole. I don't want to get in anybody's way. I'm sorry.